friends, welcome back to my channel. We're here today to talk TBR. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the books that I intend to read in January, but also about some of the books that I want to read for 2022. One of my goals this year is to read some classics, some backlist titles that I've been hearing about and thinking about for a long time and just haven't gotten around to reading. Some of them are books that are influential or popular and books that come up in conversations or books that just refer to a lot of contemporary things that I feel like I need to have read the original work. And so I created a list motivated by some of the list challenges that we did in Vlogmas, but I created a list of about 60 something books that I want to read this year. I may not get to all of them, but my goal is to at least whittle that list down. So I created a shelf, an actual TBR shelf of the titles that I already have or I have acquired in the recent days. And as we go through this year, I'll probably be adding more titles to this shelf. So I'll keep you updated on how the shelf is doing, how many of the books I have and how many of them I've read from this list so far. But for today, I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I want to read in January, but also sharing that TBR, the 2022 TBR list with you in its entirety as it is right now. I may add to the list. I may just be adding more titles to the list as we go through the year. But for now, I'll show you what the list is and I'll tell you what I'm reading in the first month and so on. So before we get to all of that, no, we're not going to sing because it's no longer Vlogmas, right? You'll have to come back at the end of November if you want to hear more singing for Vlogmas. So today, we're going to be talking TBR. We're going to be talking about some of these titles, but I will note that this list does not include a lot of Caribbean titles because I made an entire video dedicated to my reading for the book club. So I shared with you the titles that we're projecting reading for the first 7 months of 2022. So I'm not going to include those titles here. I may just mention the book that we're reading for January, which, why don't we talk about it right now? It is The Long Song by Andrea Levy. We're going to be reading that for the Run Right Reads book club. So if you want to join us, let me know in the comments down below that you want to be included in whatever kind of information we share about the discussion at the end of the month. So The Long Song by Andrea Levy is one of the first books on my TBR because I need to read it for the Run Right Reads book club. Aside from that, I'm reading books for publishers, books that publishers sent me and asked me to review. Some of them, they don't necessarily ask me to review. They just want me to read them, maybe share my impressions online. Others, I need to actually write reviews or do features on Instagram. And I also belong to a few reading challenges. I participate in this one on Facebook called Book Challenge by Erin that happens twice a year, 4 months at a time. So the first round started on January 1st. And so I have 10 titles that I'm going to be reading for that challenge. I'm planning to read about 2 of them this month. So those 2 books are included in my TBR, and surprise, surprise, they come from my TBR, my big 2022 TBR shelf. So I'm trying to be strategic this year with my reading. So let's move into my January TBR. So I mentioned The Long Song by Andrea Levy is on that TBR. I don't yet have a physical copy. I'm also doing a buddy read with Columbus and Rosalie. We're going to be reading Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont by Elizabeth Taylor. I don't have a physical copy. I'm probably going to be downloading an e-copy from my library for that buddy read. So those are 2 books that are on my TBR. Aside from that, books for the book challenge, I'm going to be reading Persuasion by Jane Austen and reading Lolita in Tehran. So this is a reread for me, but I do want to reread all of Jane Austen's works because they're very influential, and I feel like I read all of them at a time when I couldn't necessarily distinguish between the stories, so I need to reread them just now as a more mature person. So that's January for the book challenge. Aside from that, I also have some books that I'm carrying over from my TBR in previous months, books that I didn't get to, like Colson Whitehead's Harlem Shuffle, 400 Souls, edited by Ibram X. Kendi and Keisha N. Blaine. NPR's Podcast Startup Guide. This one is by Glenn Weldon. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea by Andre Lewis Carter. The Third Mrs. Galway by Deidre Sinnott. A Tall History of Sugar by Cordella Forbes. Within These Wicked Walls by Lauren Blackwood. And I also have newer books coming from publishers that I'm going to be reviewing, like On a Night Like This by Lindsay Kelk, The Artist's Colony by Joanna Fitzpatrick, and Martha Hall Kelly's Sunflower Sisters. Publishers also sent me Blue by Emily Prophet, translated from French, I think, by Tina Cover. The author is Haitian, so I'm not sure if the book was originally written in French or Haitian French Creole. Either way, I'm reading it in English, and I'm reading it this month, so it's on my January TBR. I also wanted to add something that I bought recently, and we may be reading this for the Run Right Reads book club later this year, but I feel like even if I don't put it on my TBR, I'm going to want to read it pretty soon, so I'm adding it to my January TBR. What Storm, What Thunder by Miriam J.A. Chansey. So that's my January TBR as it stands right now. I do occasionally read books that aren't on my TBR just because that's who I am. So this list may also change. So that's my January TBR. Stay tuned for images of my big 2022 reading project, classics/backlist books. And as you go through the list, one, if you want to play list challenges, go ahead. Let me know how many of these books that I'm going to show you on my TBR you've already read. I'm not starting from zero either, right? There's a title on here that I read since I created the list, and there are a couple of titles on here that are rereads for me. But yeah, my score for this 2022 TBR list is 3 so far. So if you play, let me know what your score is. And also, as you're going through the list, if there's a book that you want to buddy read with me, let me know in the comments down below which title and what your availability is like. If it's a shorter book, if you want to read it pretty quickly in a few days or so, or if it's one of those longer titles and you want to read it over a few weeks, a few months, that's fine too. Let me know down below. I chose to create my TBR as images so that as we go through the year, I can update these images with books that I've finished or DNF'd, and also maybe books that I'm adding to the TBR as we go along. So playlist challenges, let me know if you want to buddy read anything, and let's chat in the comments down below. And until next time, happy reading. Bye. And that's my child. And look who just woke up and is here for the rest of the video. You can take the challenge and let me know how many of these books you've read. So let's chat in the comments, right? Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs up, show thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. We'll be back soon with another video, and I hope you join me for it. And until next time, happy reading. Bye. Say bye. 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 You only smile for your friends. You won't smile for mama. Mwah. Say hi, friends.
Hi, friend.
Good job.